today I'm going to show you how to set up your own template for Logic Pro 8. It's going to let you open up a song quickly that has all of your settings, has your hardware mapped to tracks, has some routing set up in your mixer so you can apply effects to groups of tracks and control their volume level. It's going to have some screen sets set up. So like right now I'm on screen set 1, which has my arrange window. I'm going to press 2 now, and we see screen set 2 up here. You see that screen set 2, and we have the mixer down here in the arrange window, and then 3 is going to just have my environment window. And you can have these set up any way you want. Very cool feature. So I'm going to go back to screen set 1. We're going to learn how to create groups, so we can group together say drums for different editing functions in this arrange window, for editing comps and for recording. So when I hit record, all these tracks, sorry, I'll just do that real quick. All these tracks light up with a record, and so you're not clicking record. That's a great feature when I found out about that. And then we're going to look at customizing key commands, and also customizing these left click tools and command click tools, so you're not constantly having to go into this little menu here with your escape button. You can just press command and you get your secondary tool. Pretty nice. So yeah, we're going to look at a few features, how to set up your template, how to improve your workflow, you know, ditch that 10 minutes that you normally spend setting up a song file when you begin working, so you can just get right down to making music right away. You can even put some instruments that you like to use, a piano or something in there, and whatever synthesizers you like, a couple spare tracks. So stay tuned and I'll show you all that and a little more. Okay, we're going to start out with Logic Pro open. I've got it right here. I'm going to make a new song. And you're going to see there's the pre-made templates here, and you've probably messed with those a bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to create an empty project. And that, I believe, is in every folder here. So just go up to whichever one and hit empty. You may have a faster computer. I have a dual 2 gigahertz G5. So when this starts up, we get a little dialogue asking us to add new tracks, because your song is pretty much useless without a track. So I am going to create 16 audio tracks, and we will keep them mono and switch the ones that we need to be stereo over to that when we're ready. And so I typed in 16. I'll press create, and there we go. We've got 16 tracks all lined up. I'm going to add a couple audio instruments by hitting the new tracks button here, and I'm going to add 2 software instruments, and this will be their output. I'm going to have them output on 1, 2. That's my default output that I use to go to my speakers. And hit create. I had the open library checked here, so that's going to open up the library pane over on the right, I believe. Yep, there, which we don't really need that right now. So we've got 2 instruments and we've got a whole lot of audio. First thing we're going to do is start out by naming them. So you can double click there, and I'm going to say acoustic 1. And I'm going to say acoustic 2, and I'm going to go all the way through here. I'm going to name all my tracks what I want them to be, and that's going to take a couple seconds, so I'm going to do that and we'll come back. Okay, so now we're back. I've named all my tracks. Now I'm going to set, if they're going to be stereo, I'm going to go ahead and set that now. So my acoustic guitars are going to be stereo, my drum set is going to be stereo, and maybe my auxiliary percussion. So I can go through here and click stereo. So I'll show you a way to do this differently in a couple seconds in the environment window. And there we go, we're all set up to record stereo automatically. Now I need to say what inputs I'm going to use. So I have a sound card that has 16 inputs. The first 8 are line level inputs. The 9 through 16 are coming from a PreSonus preamp that I have via an ADAT optical cable, and that's what I use for most of my inputs. So I'm going to be using 9 through 16, and I use 15 and 16 for a pair of Rode NT5 small condensers, and I use that for acoustic. So I'm going to go to my input, and I'm going to pick 15-16, my acoustic here. I'm going to say 15-16, and let's go try what I was talking about earlier in the environment window, where we can see everything spread out here. 15-16 there. This is going to be 15-16. And my overhead, I believe I can shift click and then change this to 15-16. Will it work? Yeah, there we go. It did it. So now we have those two. So we could have just highlighted all those, shift clicked, and hit 15-16, and they'll all go there. But let's close that window back down. My electric, I am going to be using 14. Okay, so I'm going to go through and do the rest of these. You know, I got a bass DI. I set up my drums to the channels I want, and then we'll be back in a sec because this is kind of boring. Okay, so we're back now, and I've mapped all these, and I've renamed them, and there's a couple other things I like to do to customize, and that is to expand this pane with your track name, and then change the icon by clicking it once, and it takes a while to pop up for me. So that's going to be my acoustic guitar, so I'll grab this icon, and then I'm going to go down to 2 and do the same thing, a different acoustic, and I'll grab an electric. And you know, some of you out there may not care about this. I never used to do this, but now I kind of like it. It just makes it easy to scan these really quickly and get an idea of what you have going on. So I'm going to go through and do the rest of those, and we'll pick up at the end of that. So I'm all done putting these icons in here. And the next thing we're going to do is pick a couple default instruments, and I like to have a piano. So actually I'm going to go down here and find, what am I looking for? GarageBand instruments, that's it. And I'm just going to go grab a piano. It's going to load up my audio. Okay, so we have the piano there, and then I'm going to add in a ES2 and change it to my preset that I like. We'll just throw this one in there. Okay, so we've got our tracks all set up, our sound card wired to the tracks that we're going to be using, and I did rename these to spare. One more thing we could do is we can change colors of these to match. So when we record, here we go. No way, that's not changing. If I record something, it's going to ask me to save. Say screencast template. So I'm going to record these 3, and we should, like I said, see red here. I'm not seeing a little color tab, which I normally see. Okay, so yeah, that's working. So these will be red, and it gives you a big a visual cue on what's what. And after you start using these for a while, it'll become pretty natural. You'll look for your red, and that'll be your drum set tracks. Actually heard that Peter Gabriel picked Logic years ago, probably 10 years ago, based on its ability to color tracks. Nothing else could do that. So it's not a hugely important thing to me, probably not to you, but you know, just know it's there, and it can be handy. And it can make things look a little more organized. Anyway, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a group here for our drums. So when we select them, you see here I'm selecting a region in the range window, and it's not selecting all of them. And with groups of microphones that record at the same time on say a drum set, or say you have two tracks, like a close-up dynamic on a guitar amp and another microphone that's farther back, like a large condenser you might put farther back in a room, you can have them linked together. So whenever you edit one, it'll edit the other. And whenever you anytime you select it, cut it, press record, you can set options so it'll do it to all the tracks. So we're going to come in here. We're actually going to open up our environment window again. I think that's the best place to do it. And I see my kick, snare, and overhead. I'm going to highlight those three. You could also shift click them. And then I'm going to say group 1 here. And I'll give it a name, drum set. And this is where we choose how the group is going to, what it's going to control, and how it's going to affect the selection of different things. So I'm going to say region selection, edit. I'm going to say record enable. I don't like to do automation mode because sometimes I'll have different effects on different tracks, and I don't want to change all those all the time. Volume I don't like to do for drums. Mute I'll do. Pan we don't want to do. So I'll close that. And now you see we have this group name in here. We can close our environment again. And now when I hit record, they all record. And then now when I cut, they all cut. Great. And now when I record over something, and we get multiple takes, which is a new Logic 8 thing, and I want to make a comp, all the comps are selected and adjusted. So here, you see how that works. So this is light years ahead of Logic 7 in messing with large groups of microphones that you need to edit all at once. Changing drum sets for me used to be very tedious, not changing them, but editing them. You used to have to make sure you select them all and then adjust this, adjust that. Big pain in the butt. So this is very helpful. We will get rid of this. So let's see, what else are we going to do here? We're going to set up some routing. So I don't want to have to, let's say I want to bring the drums down, the volume of them down. I don't want to have to adjust each one here. I can set an overall level of, you know, I want my kick drum to be this loud, and I want my snare drum to be a little softer, and I want my overheads to be even softer here. And then I can send all of those to a bus. And the way I do that is to make it faster, I'm going to go to my environment window again. And I'm going to go to my drum set and highlight that. Then I'm going to send it. This is the output slot here. So I'm going to click and hold that and then send it to bus 2. Okay. And then I scroll over to the right here and I'm going to see aux 1 called bus 2. It's kind of goofy, but I'm going to rename it to drum set. Now I can come in here, throw a compressor on there and bypass it. And I'm set up for a kind of generic drum effects on here. I'm going to compress the whole drum signal. I might also come and throw another compressor on the overheads, or a compressor on the snare, or a gate on the snare, whatever you find yourself using all the time. It helps to just add those right now in your template so you don't have to do it every time you start a song out. So what I normally do is I'll have all my guitars bus to, say, 3, and then my vocals will go to 4. Take my bass to 1. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. You can then set your, like I said, levels within the groups. So let's say I maybe want a little bit of my acoustic, pan them left and right, a little bit less of acoustic too because it was recorded a little louder, or whatever the case may be. Send it to bus 3, and that is now here. Change this to guitars. Okay, and then I can control the volume, the panning, and effects there. One other thing, which I learned just recently, is that it's a little trick. I think it's called the New York compression trick, and you can take, say, your drum set and your bass, and you'll send that to, we'll say, bus 5, and then push that up to 0, then come over to bus 5, we'll name that NY Comp, and then we're going to squash the heck out of it with a compressor. So you might pull your threshold down, push your gain up, increase your ratio. We're not listening to anything, so we don't know how exactly it's going to sound, but give it some hit it pretty hard with the compressor, going up to about 10 decibels gain reduction. And then after that, I'll double click there in the EQ slot, and I'm going to add an EQ, and you give it a nice bass boost and maybe a bit of a treble boost, somewhere between 5 and 10 decibels. And then you bring this guy all the way down, and you listen to your song, see how it's sounding, and you bring this up, this nice compressed tight sound with a nice low end up until everything sounds nice and solid and it really fills out your mix. I used to be really afraid to add bass to my mixes because I just thought it was going to make them too bass heavy, but don't be afraid to add a little bass. It'll help out your mix. Anyway, that's routing and setting up some default routing. You can see I kind of I was thinking I was going to set up a reverb for everything, which I'll just do that right now, just to show you how you might do that. Say on my vocal, I want to send it to bus 6. I normally do this on bus 1, so this is why I kind of messed up, I think. Go to bus 6 here, and we'd set up a reverb space designer. And this is really handy if your computer isn't that fast and you want to reuse the reverb. I'll just leave it on the default for now. And so that is aux 6, and we'll call that reverb. And now if you want some reverb on it, you can just push this send up, and it'll send more of your signal to that reverb signal. And say I want to use the same reverb on my acoustic, I can just turn that up a little bit, give it a different amount, and so you can reuse that same reverb effect and not have to bring up new instances of it, and it'll be a more efficient way to use your available processor. Although these days it's not too much of a worry, not as much as it used to be. You can fire up a whole lot of reverbs. My dual 2 gigahertz desktop can handle quite a bit, and your computer can probably handle a lot more. So the final thing, we've routed to our buses here, which are handy for during your mix down. You can just ride these faders a lot less than you may have. 24 tracks of audio over here. It's a lot easier to ride 6 faders. You have eight fingers there, or 10 fingers. If you want to use your thumbs, but you got more fingers you can ride here. And then we're going to take all those buses and they're going to come to your final output. And I'll normally set up a EQ and then add limiter. You may want to put a compressor in front of there too. And this is just kind of my generic mastering output phase. So those will be there, and I want to make sure I bypass them. And so that's the little kind of basic setup of your mixer and the routing and inputs and outputs and all of your instruments here. You can go in and change more of your colors. So next we're going to set up our screen sets. I like to use 3 of them, one with the arrange window, one with a split arrange and mixer, and then one with just the environment opened up. And we'll show you how to set those up. So I think we already have some, so if I press 1, we're there. If I hit 2, so it looks like they're all the same right now. So I'm going to go to 1, take a look at it, and I'm going to lock it. So that's going to make it so if I take this window, move it over, and open up maybe another window to a score window and mess up my set, and if I hit 1 again, it's going to snap back to how it was. So when you're starting out, you might work with it locked, and you may find that you like it unlocked, so you can come back and have your screen sets altered, but I like to keep them locked. Gonna jump over to 2, and we're gonna change it to how we want it to look. So I'm going to bring up the mixer here, and then I'm going to enable this catch playhead. So it's going to keep this playhead in the window. Otherwise, it's going to just come back to wherever we have it set up. So it may come back to being zoomed in on 1 when the playhead's actually way over here. So I'll keep that on, and I'm going to lock this. Then I'm going to switch back to screen set 1, and I was just going to make sure I had that catch playhead enabled here, and I do. So I have 1 and 2 now, and I'm going to check out 3. I'm going to close this arrange window. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. I need to open up the environment window. And then I think I can just close this window. Interesting. Maximize that, and then for my screen I also like to drag these down here so I can see everything in one spot. So there we go. That'll do for now. Okay, so I will lock that, and you can use Shift L to do that too if you're in and out of there all the time. And then there's some other functions in here. I could duplicate this screen set and put it to number 4 and then modify that, if you have something pretty complex set up. But and you don't have to have just one window in here. You can, let's say we could take this, make it a little smaller, then we can add maybe a I don't know what would make sense here, but we can maybe have a piano roll opened up, and then collapse that down a little bit, scoot it over here, and this is just an example. This probably makes very little sense because you don't have your arrange window here, and then be able to select a region, and then it would pop up here. So, but if you want to change something, you have to unlock it and then lock it again. We go 2, and then we come back to 3, and see, there it is. So I'm going to get rid of that, maximize this, unlock, and then lock again. So we have everything set up with our screen sets. If you start out using these, it's nice because it can be hard to get used to using screen sets, you'll start opening up windows and you'll have a whole mess of windows there before you know it. So I in the last couple months have trained myself to start using these key commands to switch screen sets, and it's really helped me out a lot. So I think it could probably help you too. Next, we're going to look at customizing our tool menu, or alternate tools. So you see when you left click, well, I right click because I'm using my left hand right now, but your primary click is going to, let's say I want my primary to always be the pencil. So okay, there I have pencil and I click. I'll make a new one, new region, and then say I want my secondary click to be scissors tool. So now I hold down Command and click and I cut and let it go. Goes back to my other tool. That's pretty handy, and that is set on a per window basis. So you have these here, and you have relevant tools here, and I'm gonna unlock and then lock to save those, and then I'm going to go to my first window, and you see my tools are different. So I can maybe use a eraser tool here, and then Shift L, unlock, lock it again, it's saved. Okay, so screen sets are all set up. How I like to use them, you'll probably find some different combinations that work for you. Maybe you do a little more MIDI programming and you want to have a piano roll open up on your fourth set, so you can do that if you like. Very flexible system, and we're able to customize our tools, so that's pretty handy. So you're not always hitting escape, which is a handy one to know, to bring up your full list of tools. Now lastly, when you have your template, I'll show you one more thing I just forgot. Didn't do this earlier, but you can command click on your track here and configure your track header, and this will let you select what you want to show. So you may want to have the protect and maybe the freeze button up here, and you may want to change not show icons or numbers to conserve some screen space. Oh, and then color bars, that's what I was looking for earlier. So that shows you what color your tracks are going to be. So now I come in here and I go to that, pull up colors, make it red, voila, I have red. Nice. And then let's see, we'll hop over to the environment. Oh, we can't do color there. I was thinking maybe we could lasso those. So you have to do them here one at a time. Oh, I didn't save my thing. So let's see, we'll go back. Didn't save my screen set. Freeze, protect, track color bars, done. Shift L, it's locked. Okay, so now we're good. Of course, I go through and change colors for all these, but that's really it. You can change your menu up here as well. So customize your toolbar, get whatever you like up in there. Although you can, of course, get to all these things through the menus. And then the last very important step is to go to Save as Template, and then give it a name. So I'm going to call it Screencast Templates. Save it. Then I can close this project. I'm not going to save it, and I can say give me a new, and then go to My Templates, and I'll hopefully have, there it is, Screencast Template, and it'll load up those instruments. That's what it's doing right now, and everything else ready to go. It asks me if I want to save this as a new project, so I say sure, and we're ready to get down to business. Let's record some drums. There we go.